Hi, Jared here with another video. Today we're going to dig a little bit deeper, specifically into that piece of crap, that piece of shit that we call the devil. Now, there's a lot of misunderstanding about the devil, or rather his manifestations. I'm just going to give a little bit of history lesson based on Torah, Old Testament, based on my work as an exorcist, based on the studies that I have done in Kabbalah, in the different Kabbalistic books, the Kabbalistic writings, and other research that I have done. So first of all, as we discussed the last time, evil was created by God to give us the concept of, not concept, but to actually give us free choice. Very important. The devil, just like the angels, of course, was created before we were. Was created before the earth. Okay? Now, what needs to be understood, in Hebrew, we have this concept called Yetzer Hara, which literally translates from Hebrew to evil inclination. Now, the devil, as we know him in his current manifestation, is rather new. He was in the second falling of angels. The first falling of angels were with the Watchers. God destroyed the earth via the flood of Noah because of all the damage and corruption that they had done. The devil is part of the second falling. That's the devil as we know him now. But the devil has existed in many different forms. Different cultures have worshipped him in many different ways and as different names and personalities. But the concept of the devil, the manifestation of evil, has existed since the beginning of time. And I'll give you an example. Adam and Eve. Let's go back to Adam and Eve. Now it's a whole other concept, a whole other conversation, a whole other video that perhaps I will do one day. Adam and Eve were the first humans as we know them today. Now, what does that mean? Again, it's a very Kabbalistic concept. Adam and Eve were the first humans that were given the highest level of soul. Before that, humanity existed literally in the form of caveman style, okay? Where it was a lot more instinct, very limited ability to think. Now, if we put that aside, because again, that's a whole other conversation and a whole other video and topic. In the time of Adam and Eve, the devil, yes, the devil, was the one who convinced Eve to eat the fruit of the tree of knowledge. But Jared, the devil was a snake, it was a serpent. Aside from the fact that the devil comes from a race of angels called Seraphim, which we discussed in the last video, and they are serpent-like, okay? So it would only be natural that that would be the manifestation. But the devil was the manifestation at the time as the serpent, okay? So it was the devil, even though as we know him came much later in history. He was the snake that convinced Eve to eat the fruit, and then she convinced Adam. So he's been responsible for a lot of evil and for us sinning for a very long time. What are some of the other manifestations? Well, let's go back to the devil as the angel of light. At the time, and again, there's no harm that necessarily comes from it. I just don't like mentioning his names. I don't like giving him what we call in Hebrew kavod. I don't like to give the devil any honor in any way, shape, or form. So I never mention his entire name, okay? But I'll give you an idea so you understand what I'm talking about. The devil, as we know him now, before he fell as the second falling of angels, with him and those who followed him down to earth, because that's where he fell. He didn't fall into hell. He fell here on earth, and he's still here, as most people can probably figure out based on what's going on in this world. The devil's name started with L-U-C, Luz, okay? In Hebrew, it means angel of light. That was one of his manifestations, which is always why I warn people. If the devil at one point was the angel of light, how easy is it for him to trick people? He can show up as a light. He can show up as beautiful angels. He was once actually, by the way, known as a very beautiful angel because he was the angel of light, the bringer of light, so to speak, doing God's bidding. One of his other manifestations, and he has been worshipped under different names, and there are different opinions, okay, than mine, whereas there are people who say the other names that I'm about to tell you right now were other demons, high-level demons. In my estimation and in my opinion, it's the same one, just different manifestations, different names that people applied to him. One of them, and we see the statue very often, the one that is a statue of a tranny, half animal, half human, half man, half woman. And it starts with a Baph. Baph, okay, you get the idea. That's another representation of the devil. Different times in history, there were different peoples and different cultures who worshipped him under the name Baph, which had its own sacrifices, including child sacrifices, and especially baby sacrifices, which still continue to this day, by the way, at the highest level of secret societies, in the Vatican, in Hollywood, in the entertainment industry in general. Another manifestation of the devil, which one that we know as him now, and this is a name, by the way, that is actually written in the Torah. It's the one that starts with S-A, Sate, or some say Sat, okay? In Hebrew, it's actually not S, it's Sh. So his name is actually written in the Old Testament in the Torah, and it's pronounced Shat. Instead of Sate, it's Shat, okay? In Hebrew, what does that mean? Shat literally means the accuser. One of his jobs was to accuse humanity, which is what led him, by the way, to fall. Not only was he the angel of light with the name Luz, but as the accuser, one of his other duties was to be the chief accuser, let's say the prosecution. So when humans, every time a human sinned, he would stand in God's heavenly court and accuse that person and say, look, you see, why did you create them? Why did you even need these humans? Look, they can't keep your laws. All they do is sin. All they do is evil. Look at that. And that was his job, was to accuse. And there were other angels who came against him, okay, to defend as humans. One other manifestation, and by the way, that's the manifestation of Shat. We still know him as that now. That's his last manifestation, by the way. And this is what we know him by now. And it's amazing that it's, Shat almost sounds like shit, because that's what I think of him. And those who follow him, that's a whole other conversation. You can see what I think of demons in my exorcism videos, by the way. I'm not shy to tell them what I think. Not shy at all. Especially when I do them with my brother from another mother, Sir Pierre de Reiche. I often allow him to have a little bit of fun. And he tells them exactly what he thinks too. The other manifestation, there were many, but another manifestation of the devil is, again, I won't say his name, but it's Mol. Okay? And again, some of the sacrifices very often to his representation or manifestation as Mol were children and babies. Okay? Now, of course, there are others. Not to be confused, by the way, with different Egyptian gods and Roman gods and Greek gods, which obviously, since there is only one God, Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. And the first commandment, there are no gods other than me. And the second, thou shalt not commit idolatry, thou shalt not make any graven images on my behalf. Those were not those gods that were worshipped by many societies, including the Greeks, the ancient Persians, the ancient Egyptians, the Romans, the Phoenicians, and we can go down the list. Those were angels, fallen angels that came with the devil.